Alright, this video is to show you how you can quiet down your trampoline. This is the 15-foot Skywalker trampoline, and we got this about a month ago. And one thing I noticed right off the bat is it started to get noisy. And the main problem is that these joints on the legs here, also here, only have a single screw going in one side. And once the kids start jumping on the trampoline, those loosen up and those joints get pretty rickety. So to take care of that, I installed bolts. You see the bolt going through here. You have to drill the hole and then put a bolt in there, and it clamps down on that, and it keeps that from shaking around too much. I did that on all 6 legs, and then I also did it on the posts for the safety net. And I'll list the hardware sizes I used down there in the description. So I installed those, and it was still pretty noisy. When we first put this together, I put wax on the joints, but that wasn't good enough, so I've taken all these apart and used wheel bearing grease on this joint here. You put some on the inside and then put some on the surface of the part you're inserting to make sure everything's coated. Same thing up here. I put it on the inside of here and on the outside of the silver post, and then I also put a little bit on these pillars for the net, and that really helped quiet things down. The other thing I did was to grease the springs. You can see right there the grease, and I wore some protective gloves and put a dab into each spring, and there's no sound there anymore when that spring goes. So you do that all the way around the entire trampoline. I didn't bother putting it on this inside joint because it didn't seem like any noise is coming from there. After I greased all of the springs and these joints, and my kids got on the trampoline with a couple of their buddies and really jumped on it, it's pretty much quiet. You don't hear any squeaks at all anymore. Here are the screws there at the top. Those are what came with the trampoline for assembly, and they hold the legs together, but they don't secure them tight enough to stop them from getting kind of rickety and shaking around when the kids jump. I don't expect those to back out so the legs would fall apart so the trampoline will stay together, but it just makes it noisy. So these are what I replaced those screws with. Those are 2-inch by 1024 machine screws, and then I put the Nylon nuts on the end. Again, that's a 1024 Nylon nut, and then these are number 10 washers, and I've installed 36 of those on our trampoline, so 4 for each leg hoop and then 1 per net pillar. And when you install those, you could go with a 1 3/4 screw, but you might be just shy of clearing that nylon at the end, and so I went with a 2-inch screw and then used a Sawzall to just buzz off the end of those. And the Sawzall actually did a really good job of flush cutting those. There was only 1 or 2 I had to file down, and that's just so if the kids run past those, there's no sharp edges sticking out. The end of these, once it's filed down, is pretty smooth, so no worries of the kids getting cut on those. To install those, the drill bit size that I used was a 3/16 inch drill bit. You could go a touch larger. The 3/16 inch hole worked pretty well for these screws to go through, but if you had any kind of metal burrs or misalignment, the screws were kind of a bear to put in, but I wanted kind of a tight fit so those legs were kept more in place. So all in all, I think it took me about 3 hours time to go back and forth, putting the bolts in and then going back, taking everything apart and adding the grease, so I was kind of troubleshooting as I went along the way. I think it would take somebody about 2 hours to disassemble, grease everything up, put it back together, and then drill your holes and put these bolts in, having all your materials on hand ahead of time. And you know, for that couple hours of work that you do, it's going to buy you some nice quiet there in the backyard. Kids will have a quieter trampoline to jump on, and your neighbors would probably appreciate it too, since you got less of that squeaky noise pretty much gone away. So I hope this helps someone out there to quiet down their trampoline.